Thank you very much. So good to see everyone out here. Let me begin with a couple of corrections. I flew in from Bangkok. I was about to go to India, but changed plans, so here I am. And I'm the co-host of the UN4J vigils that are, thank you. That are webcast every Friday in the US and every Saturday morning here from 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. Picking up on the theme the professor mentioned about Pentagon Papers, in his 1971 opinion on the Pentagon Papers case, U.S. Supreme Court Justice Hugo Black wrote the following: "In the First Amendment, the Founding Fathers gave the free press the protection it must have to fulfill its essential role in our democracy. The press was to serve the governed, not the governors. The government's power to censor the press was abolished so that the press would remain forever free to censure the government." That's what WikiLeaks and Julian Assange have been doing since 2006. Censoring governments with government's own words, pried from secrecy by WikiLeaks sources. Whistleblowers. In other words, WikiLeaks has been doing the job the U.S. Constitution intended the press to do. One could hardly imagine today anyone sitting on the U.S. Supreme Court writing such an opinion. But even more troubling is the news media having turned its back on its mission, the mission laid out by that Supreme Court justice. Today they almost always serve the governors, not the governed. And the question is why? Why is the media doing this? The consolidation of media ownership has increased obedience of desperate journalists. Entertainment divisions have taken over news departments, and careerist reporters live vicariously through the power of those they cover, rejecting the press's unique power to hold those officials to account. It comes down ultimately to lifestyles. Men go to war to protect and extend their lifestyle. The press cheers them on for residual material betterment and increase in status. Millions of lives erased for lifestyles. It used to be accepted, for instance, in television news, that news departments would lose money, and they would be supported by the entertainment division. It was that way because back then news was considered a public service. They can carry a loss in the news division because it was an important, essential service for the public. TV newsmen in those days, they were almost all men in those days, of course, were former wire service and newspaper reporters. But greed has put personalities of presenters before public service, as entertainment masquerades as news. Newspapers have sacrificed investigative units to maximize profit. Government is the winner. The abdication of the mainstream media of their constitutional responsibility to serve the governed and not the governors has left the void filled for more than a decade by WikiLeaks. No longer do today's Daniel Ellsberg need to take their chances with editors at the New York Times or the Washington Post, or with their reporters spinning the damning information that they risk their freedom to get to the public, no matter how disinterested and distracted the public may be. Now the traditional media can be bypassed. WikiLeaks deals in the raw material that, when revealed, governments hang themselves with. That's why they want Assange's head. They lust for revenge, as the professor mentioned, and to stop further leaks that threaten their grip on power. That the corporate media has turned on Assange and WikiLeaks reveals their service to the state and how much they prioritize their style of life, disregarding the carnage they help bring about. In that Pentagon Papers decision, the majority of the court ruled that the First Amendment of the US Constitution prohibited the government from exercising prior restraint or censorship on the media before publication of classified information. But the majority of the court in that ruling also said the government can prosecute journalists after publication of classified material. Indeed, the US Espionage Act, which has withstood First Amendment challenges, criminalizes a publisher's or journalist's mere possession as well as dissemination of classified material. A 1961 amendment to the Act extended US jurisdiction across the world. Assange is threatened by that act. But US administrations have been reluctant to take the step of post-publication prosecution. Nixon, for example, did not prosecute Senator Mike Gravel, who was constitutionally protected when he read the papers into the congressional record after Ellsberg had given them to him. But Gravel could have been prosecuted for publishing the papers as a book. But Nixon never took that step. Barack Obama decided to back off Assange when it was plain the New York Times and other corporate media would be as liable as Assange and WikiLeaks for publishing classified information. However, the virulently anti-media Trump administration may take that step if Assange is arrested. From their point of view, it's easy to understand why the US wants to crush Assange. But what is Australia's excuse?
Yeah.
Why is it fighting America's battles? Why is the Australian mainstream media also turned against Assange after an election held in the United States, not here? What has happened to Australia's sovereignty? That's a question that can be answered by Australians coming into the streets, as you have here today, and staying there until their compatriot is at last free to leave that damned embassy, free to continue to do the job the media refuses to do. Thank you.